Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we are here for episode 5 of our co-op career mode, McLaren versus Ferrari, the battle of the Toms, to see who is the most superior Tom of them all. And as you can see, we are here for the Austrian Grand Prix, as we have had a few upgrades go on the car to increase our performance going into the weekend. And for the first race, I believe, we have a rival, and due to our, well, frankly terrible start, I've decided to go with none other than Lance Stroll, as he is the easiest of the available rivals that we have to choose from our disposal. So for the time being, we've gone with him. We did have the option of going with Tom, but he has been outperforming us throughout the majority of the season so far. And as you can see here, the vehicle performance, as Ferrari have taken a little bit of a step ahead of us once more, so have slightly more performance going into the weekend. And as you can see here, we are just scrolling through our components for our engine and our gearbox as well. As you can see, our gearbox is in pretty fine condition, but I cannot say the same for the rest of some of our parts, having to change to our second component on 3 components, I think, maybe 4. But yeah, at least we will have good components going into the race weekend, as here we are for qualifying now, choosing the soft compound tyre as always to go through to qualifying. And yeah, here we go then guys, on to the Austrian Grand Prix qualifying session. So here we are then, on to qualifying as we go on the run up to turn 1. Important to get the braking point spot on, and we do, and get the perfect exit with no wheel spin, no oversteer, perfect heading through the gears with DRS and all of that ERS up towards a very, very tricky 90-degree right-hander. Very easy to get wrong there, but we power out and get on the DRS once more as we come on the run towards the end of the second sector now, hitting that apex perfectly. And on the run out, we've actually ran wide and over the grass. That has been such a big mistake. That has cost us our lap and possibly a top 5 starting position, but we've ran wide again. It's flustered us here as we've ran wide for a second time on our lap, and we're getting all out of shape on the run up towards the last 2 corners. This has been a pretty shocking lap as we run wide yet again in the penultimate corner and through the last corner now, heading towards the line. And Tom has retired from the session. I believe he spun on that last corner, which meant that from what was a very terrible lap from us, has actually turned out to be to be starting ahead of Tom in the Austrian Grand Prix. So let's see where we qualify here. And as you can see, our teammate Lando Norris is 6th, with Tom's teammate Leclerc in 5th. And with both of our terrible mistakes, we are P15 in qualifying. Here we are then on the grid for the Austrian Grand Prix. And for this Grand Prix, we've decided to do a cheeky little strategy change, as we are deciding to start on the medium tyres at the start of this Grand Prix, in comparison to every car around us, except for Russell, who is on the soft tyres. But 5 lights and away we go, and on our medium compound tyres, that is a good start, using the ERS to help us a little bit there. But on the inside, there's not much to do going into turn 1, just staying clean and out of trouble as we go through turn 1 on the run up now to turn 2. This is a prime overtaking spot as we take a little look up the inside and dive up the inside of not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 cars into turn 2 as we power out now with the ERS, having a little drag race with Esteban Ocon. Can we hold off Esteban Ocon here as he tries to make a move around the outside, but we assume and retake the racing line, and we are now up into P11 towards the end of the opening lap here. What a start it has been for us, gaining 4 places on the opening lap so far on our slower medium compound tyres, as we look to size up Sebastian Vettel here before the end of the lap. He is looking very tasty indeed as we come up here towards the last corner, getting a really good run through that last corner, and we're all over Sebastian Vettel, getting on the ERS now, straight up the inside, and this is to be P10 into turn 1, past Sebastian Vettel. Next up is, in fact, Yuki Tsunoda. And we wait absolutely no time at all here, as we absolutely lick the stamp and send it down the inside of Yuki Tsunoda, leaving him very little room to try and hold the position. As we power out, we are in P9 now, but skipping on to lap number 4, we are all over the back of Fernando Alonso now, heading through turn 1. But crucially, Tom, on his faster soft compound tyres, is right up behind us also. So for the first time in this race, we have a little bit of pressure on us, as you can see, sending it up the inside of Fernando Alonso. But as you can see, Tom also has followed us through, so he is still directly behind us. As we skip on to the lap later, lap number 5, the exact same with Pierre Gasly, looking to overtake him on the run to turn 2. But as you can see, Tom is really close behind us now, and this forces us to make an inspired move with very little room to manoeuvre there. Our right front tyre on the grass, but we are able to get past Pierre Gasly up into P7. And yet again, Tom has followed us through in this Grand Prix past the car, and he is all over the back of us now with no cars in the near distance in front of us. So Tom will have DRS on us, and here we go, heading into lap 6 on the run down to turn 2, having to try and hold him behind, but in the end, on a much quicker set of tyres, we decide to let Tom through, as he is the much faster car at this point of the Grand Prix, and we look to try and benefit from his DRS to catch up to those cars ahead of us. And at this point of the Grand Prix, I am very happy with our progress. We are currently in P8 on our slower set of tyres, which means we will be on the faster softs come the end of the Grand Prix, as we skip a lap later onto lap number 7, and we're actually not currently being dropped by Tom with the use of that DRS and a little bit of cheeky ERS as well there, just keeping within half a second of Tom at the moment, keeping nice and close and keeping him honest. Although at this point of the Grand Prix, I'm starting to notice that our tyres are starting to come into play versus those on the softs, as we're not finding it as hard now to keep up with Tom. It could be the DRS, but I also think it is our tyre performance now starting to come towards us and actually in our favour. So yeah, as you can see, we are only half a second behind throughout the majority of this lap. And once again, picking up the DRS on Tom. As you can see at the moment, we are less than 2.5 seconds off of Tom's teammate, Charles Leclerc, who is in P6. And this will be a very crucial time of the Grand Prix to try and put in the fastest possible laps that we can, as we're now starting to come towards the end of our life on this set of tyres. Although we are still all over the back of Tom, proving that we are starting to have a bit more pace in this Grand Prix, as those on the softs start to fall in performance and actually come towards ourselves in terms of performance now. So as you can see, skipping on to lap number 9, it is in fact our pit window. However, we do not actually pit on lap number 9, as our tyres still feel very good, and we have full intention of coming in here the lap later on lap number 10, until we see that our teammate Lando Norris has come into the pits. As you see, we have had a cheeky little dive, but then backed out at the last possible second, and we're having to go for another lap here. And here we go, at the end of lap number 11, we finally make our pit stop, and this has lost us a lot of time in this Grand Prix compared to Tom and the cars around us. I think also Charles Leclerc has benefited from that, and our teammate Lando Norris as well. So here we are into the pits then, and it is a very good stop from McLaren, a 2.6 second stop, exactly what we need, heading on to lap number 12. And you can see the cars coming past us, a little gaggle of cars there, all the way to Charles Leclerc, and we are comfortably ahead of Alonso, but we are out now behind the group of Leclerc and Norris, and I believe Tom as well is also in that group fighting. So that is up to P5, I think, as it stands. But cutting towards the end of that same lap, we actually have a huge stroke of luck in this Austrian Grand Prix. As you can see, yellow flags, and I believe, according to Tom, what happened was Lando Norris decided to make it 3 wide, I think, into the penultimate corner, and he actually, in the process, ruined it for all 4 of them. And I say 4 because Valtteri Bottas, as you would have seen there, has retired from the session, so he was caught up in it as well. And I believe our teammate ahead of us, Lando Norris, indeed has some damage, as well as Tom, who I think he's raced for points at this particular part of the race is now over, along with our teammate Lando Norris, who I believe will both be pitting at the end of this lap. But it is very much on now because of that huge stroke of luck to get a P4 finish and overtake Tom's teammate Leclerc to claim what will be our first points on this channel in the co-op career mode. But not just that, it will be the start of a comeback here, claiming points in Austria and closing the gap to Tom, making this championship a lot more competitive now and a lot more tasty entering the second half of the season. So can we do it and close in on Leclerc? As you can see, we're heading towards the end of the penultimate lap, heading on to the last lap. We've been slowly chipping away and gaining on Leclerc, pushing the limits absolutely to the max, picking up a track warning there for exceeding the track limits. But here we go, wasting no time, powering through the first corner and getting on the power, heading down to turn 2 now, using everything at our disposal and sending it straight to the inside of Leclerc at our favourite overtaking place of this Grand Prix. But he actually comes back in the braking phase, but he cannot do anything against us on our superior tyres, and we power away from Leclerc now, and it's looking good for a P4 finish here with still half a lap to go. Anything can happen. As you know, in this series we've had such bad luck so far that I wouldn't put it past us to have some more here in the last half a lap. But here we go, just fully concentrating, fully putting the power down and trying to get to that finish line as fast as possible. The gap is only 0.4 of a second here, so we cannot make a mistake until we get to that finish line. And here we are, we're going to do it, everyone, ladies and gents, as we come up to the line for our first points of the series. A P4 finish here in the Austrian Grand Prix. And here we are looking for Tom to come across the line, as he is currently sitting due to that earlier crash in P16, but he's coming up now towards the finishing line. And full respect to Tom for continuing in this race despite no chance of points after that accident. Across the line, and that is the end of the Grand Prix there. And it is actually a very big surprise to see that we have got a Driver of the Day award here from P15 to P4. So that is a cherry on top of the cake. Christian Horner celebrating for us because he knows how great we have done at this weekend. But yeah, is this the start of a comeback for us in this series and for McLaren? Although despite one McLaren being us finishing in the points, yet again we failed to get that double points finish for McLaren in terms of the constructors, with Lando Norris being the cause of that accident and being at fault, effectively ruining Tom's race there. But as you can see, once more, the Red Bulls right at the top in P1 and 2, with Lewis Hamilton third, ourselves in fourth. I think that was the best possible performance and place at the end of the race that we could have hoped for, a P4. But as you can see, we are fourth in the Constructors' Championship now with McLaren, gaining on Ferrari. And as you can see as well, we are actually beating our teammate Lance Stroll in the rivalry, which is always nice to see, claiming 1,300 acclaim points there, which is always very nice. And as you can see, we are back in the hub, hoping to get some weekly resource points to spend on upgrades to close up to the Ferrari team and those ahead of us, trying to make the McLaren the best car on the grid. As here we are, we actually do have our resource points now, and we're going to be a little bit cheeky, a little bit naughty. Put in some of our resource points onto a huge barge board upgrade. And we're not just done there, folks. We are actually looking now at the chassis to put another major upgrade on the fuel tank positioning. And now that has taken pretty much all of our resource points. But that is two absolutely major upgrades that we could be taking with us to the next Grand Prix, perhaps. As we head through and sim through now, with the general wear upgrade being successful, which is always nice as well, and picking up some more resource points, but we are currently unable to do anything with them, so we go to the season break now, and some more general wear there, just picking up some more weekly resource points before the Belgian Grand Prix, being in 4 days as it currently stands. At last, here we are, finally collecting our resource points, which will enable us, I believe, to make another upgrade. And as you would have been able to have recognised from earlier in this series, that we are focusing on the powertrain department, as we have one of the best engines on the grid. So we're trying to maximise that to make us one of the absolute bullets in a straight line. But yeah, I think that's everything for this video. So if you did enjoy, please make sure to like, comment and subscribe. And as always, I will have Tom's link in the description. So please make sure to drop him a follow. Take care, stay safe, see ya.